All right, welcome to Survive to Thrive, everybody. Happy Tuesday. So I'm excited about today's conversation. We're going to talk disc profile, and we're going to talk. The actual book is 5 love languages, but I'm gonna scale it back to 4, and I'm going to do this in a way that it's very, very different than you've probably ever heard it before. And if you're wondering, okay, how does the disc profile relate to love languages? I'm going to connect the dots for you here. So first of all, how many of you have taken your disc profile? You know who you are as far as your leading character, like high D, trailing I. Okay, I saw a lot of hands go up. And if you haven't done this, I would encourage you to do it. I'm going to immediately go to share my screen, and we're going to talk about disc profile. All right. So what you're looking at is you're looking at my disc, and I'm a 99I and 98 or a 99D. I've got S's below the line. Below the line means I'm below 50. It's a trailing characteristic, and I've got almost no C. So anybody who knows me really well would say, yep, that's John, especially on the no C part, by the way. Now, what the heck does this mean? Oh, by the way, adaptive style. So adaptive style is how you behave when you feel you are being observed. This is your natural style. And under adaptive style, this style is less natural and less authentic for you or your true tendencies and preferences. When forced to adapt to this style for too long, you may become stressed and less effective. True story. Now, let's scroll down and look at the characteristics of each of these different traits. So a high D is decisive, demanding. That could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. So if you're a high D, you got to be super careful because you can come across as not being flexible. It's my way or the highway. You could be perceived as being cocky, as being arrogant, and you have to be super careful in how you show up, because if you're not, you're going to be perceived in a way that's not going to be productive to the results that you want to achieve, either in production or as a leader and you're growing your organization. It's important for you to know how you show up. Daring, determined, competitive, yeah, on the low side. I'm sorry, I'm getting down towards the bottom. So the things that you don't have when you're a high D is agreeable, mild, conservative, inquisitive. In other words, a high D can be, I'm not open-minded. This is how it is. I know I'm right, and it's my way or the highway. Now, a high I is persuasive, they're inspiring, they're enthusiastic, they're sociable. I always like to say high I's show up at parties with really loud colors on. You know they're a high I. Todd, the high I, is the one that comes up to you at a party and just starts asking questions. They want to know everything about you. Do you have dogs? What are the dogs' names? What are they like? High I. A high S is patient. They're predictable. They're passive. They're complacent. They're stable. Not things that are high on my list, but if you're talking to a high S, it's super important for you to know this is the person that I'm speaking to. So I want to make sure that I'm adapting the conversation to the person that I'm speaking with. High C, cautious, perfectionist, systematic, careful, analytical. High C's love checklists. They love dotting the I's, crossing the T's. A high C will not give you an estimate. My wife is a high C. I'm a high D. If I go to my wife and I ask her, hey, just out of curiosity, how much money is on her savings account? Her response is, let me go check. Now I'm a high D and not super patient. And my response is, just take a guess. That makes her nuts. And I know that. so I don't do it. But Todd, if I wanted to make her nuts, I would say just take a guess. All right, that was a joke. All right. Now, if you haven't taken your disc, you definitely want to do that. And why am I sharing this with you? Because think about the 14-point listing presentation. Now you're sitting across the table and you're speaking to, let's say you're talking to a couple and you're talking to a husband and wife. And it's very common to have two totally different personality types across the table from you. And you've got to adapt the conversation, Michelle, to the high D and the high C. And the high C is really wanting to take their time in order to understand the analytics behind pricing, to understand exactly how did you come up with this price. And the high D is just, give me a price and how much do you charge? Meanwhile, the high C is next to the high D, losing their mind because it's moving too fast and they want it to slow down. If you're talking to a high S, you've got to change your presentation based on the person that you're speaking to. By the way, if you have questions, because this is new information and you might have questions as we're talking, go ahead and raise your hand. I will stop and I'll answer your questions as we go. Now, when you're negotiating a contract and you're representing the seller and you have a high C, bury them in data. Give them all of the information. They want to know everything that there is to know, possibly when it comes to what are the details. You can't give them too many details. And if you skip the details because you're a high D and you think they're a high D because everybody's got to be just like you, you're going to lose them because you're not paying attention to the details. If you show up for a listing appointment at 4:02 with a high C, you've already lost. You've got to be right on time. Okay, Russell, talk to me.
When you have a situation where you're a D and your wife's a C, when's the right time to find out who's making the decision if you don't know?
Slow down for the C.
Okay.
Yeah, slow down for the C. I've been at the kitchen table before, Russell, when I've had somebody who's a super high D, and let's just say you're that person. And I would tell them, you know, Russell, this is going to take us a little while for us to work these details out. I'm sure that you're busy. Why don't you go back to what you were doing before I got here, and we'll come and get you when we're ready.
Awesome.
Literally done that. Okay. So it's important that you know who you're talking to. And if you got a high D and a high C across the table, you got to slow down for the D. You can't tell the C, we're moving fast, get over it. Okay. All right. Let's transition to the love languages. So I love this conversation. So how many of you read the book, 5 Love Languages? Right? Okay. So I'm gonna scale it back to 4, and I am going to use 4 animals to explain this to you. You are either a puppy dog, you are a kitty cat, you are a Tweety bird, or you are a goldfish. You are living with a puppy dog, a kitty cat, a Tweety bird, or a goldfish, and you are meeting with puppy dogs, kitty cats, goldfish, and Tweety birds. Now, how does a puppy dog feel love? Through spoken words of approval. Good dog. You're such a good dog. And the dog starts wagging its tail and it's just so happy because they feel love through spoken words of approval. I'm a puppy dog. If I speak to a group, let's say I get invited to speak at an event and I finish the speech or whatever, and I'm looking for spoken words of approval. And what's interesting about puppy dogs is, think about all of you who have puppy dog in your home. Puppy dogs have that one person that they go to for reassurance, for love. So for me, that's my wife. And I could be at an event and I could speak and I get nothing but positive feedback. I get a standing ovation, whatever. And I go sit down next to my wife and I ask her, so how did I do? And her response to me is, are you kidding me? Everybody stood up and gave you a standing ovation. And Jennifer, I'll say to her, yeah, but what did you think? I'm going to that one person for that reassurance that I did a good job. What do I want to hear from her? I want to hear, good boy. You're such a good boy. You did such a great job. Now, my wife, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, but my wife is a goldfish. She's a Tweety bird with a trailing goldfish. And one of the ways she feels love and approval is through acts of kindness and favor. So, for example, we have a screen door that needed to be fixed, and I fixed the screen door, right? So I go to her and I say, babe, did you notice I fixed the screen door? How do you think she responds? You're such a good boy. I'm so proud of you. Exactly, because she and I have these talks all the time. She knows I'm a puppy dog, so she speaks to me in puppy dog. And I start wagging my tail, and I'm just as happy as I can be because that's how I feel love. Now, a kitty cat, think about kitty cats. They don't really care if you say good kitty, bad kitty. You're such a good kitty cat. I mean, they look at you like, are you nuts? What are you talking to me for? And they really don't need our attention that much. But when they do, Debbie, they'll come up next to you and they'll start rubbing up against you. What are they saying? Tell me you love me, pet me, pay attention to me. That's how they feel love. And with another person, you can simply do that by touching their arm when you're speaking to your spouse, and you're just touching their or rubbing their back, just an act of showing you love through physical touch. And what's interesting is we all have trailing characteristics. Every guy here has kitty cat in him. Sorry guys to put you all in a box, but you do. And I'm a puppy dog with a trailing kitty cat. Now, Tweety bird. Tweety bird certainly doesn't care if you tell them they're a good Tweety bird, bad Tweety bird. They definitely don't want you to touch them. But what does a Tweety bird want you to do? They want you to sit and spend quality time with them. So they feel love and approval through quality time. Think about the disc profile. A high I is a Tweety bird. They want you to sit and listen to them talk. Listen to them sing. Just sit and be with them. Now, for me, I have some Tweety bird in me because I'm high I, but I'm also a little bit uncomfortable with it. If you look at my adaptive style, my eye drops way down. So if Monica comes and sits next to me in the chair while I'm working, and I look at her, I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just spending time with you. And I'm like, well, you're kind of weirding me out. And for her, that's very natural. And here's the other thing I want you to hear. We show love how we feel love. So if you're a puppy dog, you naturally think everybody else is a puppy dog. If I tell my wife, if I give her spoken words of approval, she looks at me like, what are you doing? Why are you saying that? Because that's not how she feels love. She's a Tweety bird. She has a trailing goldfish. So goldfish feels love through acts of favors and kindness. All they want you to do is go into their tank, clean the tank, and straighten up the castle while you're in there. So acts of kindness, favors. If I'll go back to the screen door, that screen door that I fixed, and I went to my wife and I said, hey, did you notice I fixed the screen door? Well, I didn't tell you the part of the story where she had asked me to fix that screen door for like 3 months before I touched it because I'm high D. I'm like, I don't have time to fix a screen door. It's not that important to me. Super critically important to her. So what was she hearing? She was hearing, I don't love you. I don't care about you. Because to her, that's super important, Michelle. So when I did go to her and say, hey, did you notice I fixed the screen door? She was like, yeah, good boy. But she's probably also thinking it's about time. So if you've got a goldfish in your life, look for opportunities to show them you care about them through favors, through acts of kindness. All right, puppy dog, kitty cat, Tweety bird, and goldfish. What's your dominating characteristic? What's your trailing characteristic? How does it show up in your life? How does this apply to your real estate business? All right. Guys, talk to me. I'm really interested to see what your feedback is on this conversation today. Uh, Hawk is a goldfish. That's interesting. I would have never guessed that about you, Hawk. Okay, Sean Fuentes, talk to me.
Beginning of last year, I realized that this was one of the holes in my game, in my real estate game,
Oh,
and I did a test on myself, which I think if I remember correctly, it was DI. Um, but I hasn't gone any further, and so I'm glad you're bringing this up because I've got to read this book. I try to focus on who my clients are, but I'm lost. So
yeah.
I just, it's still a hole in my game that I got to shore up.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for sharing,
Definitely.
buddy. Okay, Shannon, talk to me.
My disc came out as a coach IS. I don't know why it says that in front of it, but it makes sense for me. But I did not know the correlation between the I and the love language time, because that is my love language is time. And I had to teach my husband that years ago because I didn't want gifts. I could care less about it. I just need time. And so I did not, so that really makes sense. It resonated with me a lot.
So, Shannon, if you and I are talking and I'm spending quality time with you and I'm listening to you, and you know I'm listening to you, and I'm even going to be a better listener when I throw in some, really, how did that make you feel? Then what did she say? They're communicating back to you. They're showing you, I'm listening to you. You don't need that person to fix all your problems. You just want them to listen to you.
Right.
Yeah,
And I want to know they're listening.
that's right. And for all of you guys out there that, and this is especially true for you, for all of you fixers, the Tweety Bird doesn't want you to fix their problems. They kind of get annoyed when you try to. They just want you to sit there and listen to them sing. All right. Man, I thought I'd have a lot of hands up on this. All right, Todd Bailey, talk to me.
John, so puppy dog's easy for me. Like that's me, right? Can you give me those labels again? Puppy dog is words of affirmation, so on and so forth.
Say it again. I got distracted by the chat, just being brutally honest. Bad for somebody with a Tweety Bird, by the way. Shannon, you'd be like, ah, you just lost points with me. Okay, Todd, say it again.
Well, John, I still think you're amazing
Thank
using
you.
my words of affirmation for my
Yeah, my tail's wagging, trust me.
for you. Okay, can you give us those labels again, right? The puppy dog is the words of affirmation.
Yeah, puppy dog is spoken words of approval. By the way, on puppy dog, and I'll hit the other ones for you too. On a puppy dog, it's super important if you got a puppy dog in your life that as important spoken words of approval are to them, the opposite is also true. So if you go to a dog and you say, bad dog, what does the dog do? Tucks its tail between its legs and goes hides under the couch. So if you've got a puppy dog in your life and you're scolding them because you're angry at them, they are going to tuck their tail between their legs and go hide under the couch. It destroys them. Now, you can tell the fish, bad fish, fish like, I don't care, screw you. All right, kitty cat, touch, Tweety bird, quality time, goldfish, acts of favors and kindness. Emma, talk to me.
You mentioned that the bird is correlating with an eye. Do the others correlate with the other disc profiles?
Yeah, no. In some ways they do. I need to do a little bit more research on that one, Emma, before I can line them up all for you. But I definitely get the eye in the Tweety bird. All right. I've got 928. Russell, thank you for saving the day. Talk to me.
Well, I think it's more of a statement. I mean, this is it seems very simple when you break it down to like the animals, but this is very, very complex. Um, to be in a room with two people and there's three different personalities and you're trying to control it with questioning and you're looking back and forth, um, I think that's why I asked that question is who's the decision maker and how do you figure that out as quick as possible? And sometimes it's not so challenging because the demander, the D is just taking control. And then when it's all said and done, he or she looks at the other one and goes, "What did I do?" Or we're going this direction. And
That's right.
Yeah, it's a great topic.
This is a skill, guys. You don't just attend Survive to Thrive, listen to this, or watch the recording and take some notes. You've got to put this in practice. Time on task equals mastery. You will get better at this. Also, I just want to say something for all of you with children. Please pay attention to this with your kids. Again, if you have kids that are puppy dogs, be really, really, pay really, really close attention to how you speak to them. Michael Chilongo, thanks for jumping in here, buddy.
Hey, so I'm surprised you fixed the screen door at all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw something on there. I'm just curious to where you got that disc profile because it's different than what I've used in the past. I like the way it kind of looks visually in comparison to other ones that I've used. It said Inametrics. While I was listening, I couldn't find it, so I was just curious.
It is a very old disc profile. I don't even know if that particular one is still available. I do know that you could go on Tony Robbins' website. For all of you that are with EXP, it's available to you in the world or on Workplace. But Michael, the one I showed you, that's a really old disc profile. So
that's Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Okay. Just for fun, your disc profile, depending on experiences in life, things you go through, will change over time. So I know that mine has changed, and from my experience, I've seen you be a very high C. Whenever we were doing lore, your C adaptively just goes way up. So
I love data. I love data. I mean, lore, for those of you who don't know, is language of real estate. And Michael, I'm super geeked out on data. Pay attention to the details.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Okay. Todd Bailey, talk to me.
So those of you who the disc profile for people at EXP, it's on myexp.com. I just dropped it in the chat.
Thank you.
Scroll down, it's at the bottom left.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, Sean, talk to me.
What was at the beginning you had the name of the book? What was the name of the book?
5 Love Languages.
5 Love Languages. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, I've never read the book, but I am familiar with what they are and thought it would be a whole lot more interesting to share it from puppy dog, kitty cat, goldfish, and Tweety bird, which they don't talk about in the love languages. So in case you get that book and you're like, John, there's no puppy dog in that book.
I was gonna say, well, what's the last animal then? If there's 5,
I have no idea.
but there isn't any animals. Got it.
I have no idea. Yeah. The other thing that we didn't talk about on the disc is there's also a filter, and you could have a high filter or you have a low filter. If you know anybody that has like no filter and they're a high D, if you're that person, it's always really a good idea to think before you talk. Because if you just say what comes to your mind, you might blow it. All right. Guys, I hope you got good value today. Maybe some fun, something different. I thought I saw another hand up, but no, we're good to go. You guys make it a great day. I'll see everybody tomorrow morning.
Thanks, John.
Oh,
Thanks, John.
John,
We'll see you all tomorrow.
where do I find that test?
I think it's in the chat. Let's see who.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm scrolling. I didn't go anywhere, guys. Hold on one second. I'm scrolling to now. There's a lot of
Also,
stuff.
there's a bunch of free ones on the internet.
Yeah.
What would I look for?
He was saying the
Disc,
disc was on my EXP.
Yeah.
And
So,
then Five Love Languages has them. And I agree with you. There's really only 4 because acts of service and gifts there's the same thing. It's just gift of time versus gift of money or gift of resources.
Hawk, I'm so impressed that you read that book. I really am.
We have done like deep dives. Like we've spent probably thousands of hours between my wife and I on assessments and understanding them. And my wife has actually correlated a lot of the assessments to each other and how they work with each other. And it's just something interesting for us because I am a high D and she is a high C. And, that doesn't necessarily work very well in a marriage sometimes. So if you don't know each other, if you don't get to know how to share love with one another, and she loves she loves physical touch, and I am 100% acts of service. And it's really funny. My daughter does not. If you give her words of affirmation, she is mad at you. Not only is it her last one, but it actually makes her mad. It's kind of
interesting.
Very interesting.
Guys,
don't tell me you like me.
Guys, I gotta jump. I am late for the coaching appointment. Go make it a great day.
You have a blessed day.
All right.